Hello, my dear followers, and welcome back to Turkish Spotlight Secrets. I'm buzzing with excitement because today's topic is one you won't want to miss. We're diving into the story of two names that have held millions under their spell, Çağatay Ulusoy and Hazal Kaya. And yes, brace yourselves, because we're about to unpack startling confessions Hazal has shared about her relationship with Çağatay, revelations that change how we've all seen this golden duo. If you adore these two Turkish stars, this deep dive is yours. Before we jump into the whirlwind, make sure you're subscribed to Turkish Spotlight Secrets and turn on notifications so you never miss our exclusives. We adore having you in this community and your support keeps us going. As so many of you remember, Çağatay Ulusoy and Hazal Kaya became Turkey's dream couple almost overnight. Their explosive chemistry in Senkam took everything to another level. The electricity between them on screen lit up every scene, and the intensity felt so genuine that the fantasy of it being real didn't feel like a fantasy at all. Then came the realization that what we were seeing wasn't just acting, the spark extended beyond the set. For a beautiful stretch of time, their romance dominated the conversation, their appearances together became must-watch moments, and the glimpses we got on social media, quiet laughter, shared glances, a hand brushing a forearm, confirmed what we hoped. They made us believe in love that was grand yet simple, public yet intimate. But just as in every true story, life took unexpected turns. And here's where things get raw, human, and undeniably revealing. In a candid interview making waves both in Turkey and abroad, Hazal opened up about the pressure that came with being in such a public relationship with Çağatay, and how that pressure seeped into places she'd always protected, her sense of self, her craft, her confidence. She admitted that, at one point, the spotlight trained on their romance burned so brightly it cast shadows over her work. For someone as devoted to the craft as Hazal, whose career has always been built on discipline, range, and heart, the feeling that her identity as an artist could be subsumed by the title of Çağatay's girlfriend was quietly devastating. She didn't speak with bitterness. Instead, she spoke with that calm honesty we've come to expect from her, measured, thoughtful, and brave. She said she loved him, that they shared countless moments she keeps close, that their connection was real. But love wasn't the only thing in the room. There was also a ceaseless, humming noise, the chorus of cameras and whispers and commentary that followed their every step. That constant hum, she said, grew into a pressure cooker. It became the soundtrack to each decision, each outing, each pause. And over time, the strain began to shape how she moved through her career. Let's rewind to the phenomenon that was Senkam. The series didn't just pull impressive numbers, it erupted into a global sensation. Audiences didn't just watch, they clung to every episode. A huge part of that success came from the impossible-to-fake connection between Hazal and Çağatay. Their characters, Ida and Serkan, morphed into romantic icons almost instantly. Fans around the world couldn't separate the script from reality, they wanted the two to be everything Ida and Serkan were. Playful, defiant, tender, fearless. That emotional investment became a living force. You saw it in the fan edits, in the trending tags, in the airport greetings, in the handmade signs held high outside studio gates. Hazal was already adored, but the series sent her to another stratosphere. And while Çağatay had long been one of the most watched heartthrobs in the country, this moment locked his status in place. Together, they became an engine of attention, pushing headline after headline. Social media served a steady stream of moments, some staged on set, some candid in the margins of their days. Every red carpet look was dissected. Every tiny gesture, where eyes landed, how fingers intertwined, was evidence for a feverish fanbase building a larger-than-life narrative. It was magnetic, intoxicating, and very, very heavy. In her recent interview, Hazal laid bare something many suspected but few understood. She described what it's like to live inside that bubble, where a love story becomes a public property. There were days, she said, when she felt her craft slipping through her fingers, not because she wanted it less but because the noise demanded more. Instead of spending evenings wrestling with a character's arc or choosing between complex scripts, she found herself managing rumors, dodging ambush photos, and guarding a public image that had become almost impossible to maintain. Slowly, almost imperceptibly, the balance tipped. Her mind, once laser-focused on the next challenge, was pulled toward firefighting, toward extinguishing the latest flare-up of gossip, toward holding steady a picture-perfect narrative that didn't leave room for mistakes, imperfections, or breaths. What struck the audience most was Hazal's confession that her professional confidence, the steady foundation of her career, sometimes trembled. Imagine entering a set knowing your every look will be compared to a persona fans believe is you, your every choice weighed against expectations set by a love story the world wants you to perform off-screen. She said there were days she felt she was being watched for clues rather than craft, that eyes drifted past the characters she had constructed to search for the couple people projected onto her. That tension, between the person and the projection, made her question, recalibrate, and, at times, retreat. And yet, it wasn't painted as a tragedy. It was a reckoning. Hazal said there were moments when she stepped back intentionally, creating distance between her private heart and her public persona to rebuild the quiet strength that has always powered her. She hinted, carefully but clearly, that some career decisions, projects she took on, projects she let pass, were influenced by the ecosystem of a relationship lived under a microscope. Not because the bond lacked love, but because the noise around it pressed in. That revelation hit fans like a wave. How many artists, especially women, navigate their ambitions through an obstacle course laid by expectation and surveillance, brick by brick, headline by headline? At the same time, she reminded everyone that the story wasn't only about pressure. She spoke fondly of their laughter, their shared effort to protect what was theirs. There were quiet mornings, private jokes forged on long shoot days, support exchanged when the cameras cut and it was just two people trying to do their best. That era in her life mattered. It taught her where her boundaries lived. It taught her how resilient she could be. With time, perspective sharpened the outlines of those lessons. She can now see what that period gave her and what it asked of her, and she's choosing to honor both truths. A key thread in her account was how they tried to handle the spotlight. They made real attempts to keep the relationship as private as two of the most recognizable faces in the country could. Strategically timed exits, separate cars, quiet restaurants, trusted circles. But the reality was relentless. She described it like living in a transparent sphere, visible from every angle, analyzed in slow motion. A step to the right was a clue. A silent week was a riddle. A ring, a bracelet, a song choice. Everything was coded, decoded, recoded. She said that kind of attention can distort the pace at which a relationship naturally grows. You start editing yourselves. You start anticipating reactions before you've even figured out your own feelings. That's not a fertile place for two people trying to be real. Hazal also addressed the fever pitch of public expectations. Fans didn't just love them, they built a future for them. The dream couple label came wrapped in destiny, with a finish line already drawn by strangers. So when the relationship ended, the aftermath felt like an earthquake. Disappointment rolled in. Theories multiplied. Lines were drawn. Some wanted a villain. Some demanded a reunion. Hazal didn't scold anyone for caring, she said she understood why people were invested. But she reminded everyone that human bonds don't follow plot lines. They don't always land where the audience claps. Sometimes they end, not with a scandal, but with a sigh. Sometimes they leave you grateful and wiser. That kind of candor, vulnerable yet firm, is the very thing that has set her apart. And what does all this mean for what comes next? Hazal made it crystal clear, the experience, while difficult, refined her. She feels stronger now, anchored in her choices, determined to let her work speak louder than the static. She is laser-focused on projects that challenge her, that ask for depth and risk, that let her invent and disappear into characters again. She wants the public to talk about roles, not rumors, about the way she breaks your heart in a scene, not about who held her hand at a cafe. She's stepping into new scripts with fierce intention, and the confidence in her voice suggests we're about to witness a creative surge. Of course, it's impossible to talk about the rise without acknowledging the magic that started it all. Senkam's heartbeat was Ida and Serkan, and the way Hazal and Çağatay breathed life into them gave the show a pulse that reached beyond borders. That's part of why the pressure grew unbearable. The line between character and person blurred for the world, and sometimes for them. In sharing her truth, Hazal invited the audience to separate the two again. To celebrate the fiction for what it is and the person for who she is. She also made space to talk about boundaries moving forward. Privacy won't be a luxury, it will be a priority. The circle stays tighter. The decisions remain hers. And she hopes the public will embrace that balance, cheering for the art, letting the private remain private. It's a request born not of secrecy, but of survival. When you've lived in a glass house, you learn to draw curtains not because you're hiding, but because you're healing. So, where does this leave the story of Hazal Kaya and Çağatay Ulusoy? In a place that feels honest. There was love. There was pressure. There were moments of soaring joy and moments of quiet unraveling. There was a relationship that mattered, that shaped two people in ways they'll carry forward, separately and fully. And there is a woman stepping into her next chapter with clarity, reminding us that the most powerful narrative an artist can offer is not a romance we supervise, but a career we get to witness, performance by performance, choice by choice. To wrap it all up, here's what Hazal's revelations lay bare: the oceanic weight of media attention, the way it can flood a life until even work feels adrift. The erosion of professional confidence when the gaze turns you into a symbol instead of an individual, the near impossibility of nurturing something intimate under the heat lamp of public obsession, and the unexpected grace that comes from enduring all of that, learning from it, and emerging steadier. Beyond the dream of Ida and Serkan lies a truth we should all remember. Behind television's fairy tales stand real people with complex realities, and it's their talent, their dedication, their discipline, that deserves the front row. Thank you for spending this time with us and for joining this thoughtful journey through Hazal's own words and the echoes they create. I want to know how this landed with you. Did her honesty surprise you? Do you think the kind of relentless fame we see today helps or hurts real relationships and real careers? Share your thoughts in the comments. I read them all and love hearing your perspectives. If this video moved you, give it a like, share it with friends who follow Hazal Kaya and Çağatay Ulusoy, and make sure you're subscribed to Turkish Spotlight Secrets for more exclusive deep dives. Your presence here means everything. Until next time, take care and stay tuned for our next story.